DizzyPunch. Hello and welcome to the GM Bus Stop, where I summon people to keep me company while I wait for my bus. I'm Nick, your host for this series, and here with me today is the GM for the Bard Soup podcast, Zach Meikle. Woo!
Hello. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much for taking the time to chat with me. If you're ready, we can get this started.
Yeah, let's do this.
Right.
I see a bus on the horizon. It might be an hour away, but it's coming or something.
Oh, let me change that then. Hold on. Just pushing it away. We're good. We got time. All right. Awesome. It's soupin' time. That's like it's such a great intro, by the way. It's definitely the most work I've ever seen someone put into a podcast intro. I know you sang it, but is it all like self-produced, or did you have some help writing it?
I came up with I took piano lessons for like over a decade, like just such a long time in my life. And yet I never learned how to compose, and it's just one of those things where every time I like try, I feel like I'm running into a wall, and I'd like to learn at some point, but I can't figure it out. But I wrote like the melody, and then after about 3 minutes of like trying to put it together into something that sounded like, you know, pan flutes and fantasy music, I was like, yeah, you don't know how to do this. It's not going to sound how you hear it in your head. So I found a very nice guy on Fiverr, and he made the music, and then I took that and I recorded the vocals on top of that, and I had about like 7 different ideas for verses, and was kind of just like going through them, and that one was number 1 or 2, and it stuck. Everyone liked it enough that we're like, all right, we're good. We got a theme song.
Did you take inspiration from The Thing towards the end? No, but in all seriousness, it is a really good intro, and I don't think I would be able to, like, I'm so tone deaf when it comes to music, like being able to sing or being able to like make music. I can choose, like, I will choose sound effects and music to add into the theme to make it like feel immersive, but just to be able to write something like that is just above my abilities.
So hard. It's ridiculous. I have so much respect for anybody who can compose, to even like a single instrument. If you can just like write a song on like a piano or guitar and it sounds good, I'm like, you're doing magic. You are literally a magician.
Oh, so true. I mean, I've seen those people who do like how's it referred to? Is just like singing on the spot. You know, they do it on Dimension 20 right now. What is it referred to?
Sure. Musical improv.
Yeah, exactly. Musical improv. That's like, yeah. So I don't like, that is like a worlds away from me, something that I cannot physically understand. It's so fascinating to see and one thing that just gets stuck in my mind is like that Horse Girl song where it's like a Billie Eilish rendition of Bad Guy, but it's sang in a horse girl. I'm a horse girl. Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, there was an animatic made from that as well. I think I believe his name was Blue Sky, Blue something. I will definitely clip it in here as we're showing it, but no, it's so good. And yeah, you know, you also do a lot of like music besides just the intro as well. Like you did a rendition of Tambourine Man for the 3rd episode as like a combat and as an outro, which was like very interesting.
Yeah, that one again. I was like, what if I just like write a fantasy sounding cover of Tambourine Man? And I like spend about 5 minutes in band labs, and I was like, nope, can't do it. Still, it's been 2 weeks since you made the first episode. You still can't do that. And then I went on YouTube and I found a very nice guy who had done a cover of Tambourine Man, and I was like, I like how he sounds. It's just like a fun cover of this, and I reached out to him and asked if we could use it on the podcast, and he graciously said yes. And the music is, it's one of those things where if I ever have the time and I don't know, hit my head sufficiently hard and wake up in the morning with musical abilities that I don't currently possess, I would love to just be writing and adding more and more like original composition to the show. Right now we're kind of scraping by on royalty-free attribution-based music. If you look at our show notes for any episode, it's just like 30 songs, all like Creative Commons license, and I'm like, it looks so ugly, but
yeah, the description list is very long and repetitive. But
I'm like, do I need all this? Can I just list like all the songs and then the Creative Commons? It's all under the same license. Can we not just do that? But
Yeah, in the beginning when we were starting to make our own podcasts and our sessions, I started using like a bunch of royalty-free stuff that I don't even think I put in the descriptions of where they originated from. But yeah, when you're scraping by and when you're a small channel, it doesn't necessarily matter. But like as we grew, that there's a sense of responsibility of like, no, people put time and effort into this stuff, and we should show where this stuff comes from. And but yeah, now we're using Epidemic Sound for like a lot of the sound effects and music, so I feel better about that.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
There's one source we go back to for like more ambience and occasionally like music, but mostly ambient noise. Tabletop Audio, shout out. And they've got like an FAQ, and they're like, hey, if you're a small show, if you're using this for a home game, don't worry about it. If you're using this for like a small show, don't worry about it. If if it starts to make money, and like, well, let's work something out. And I'm like, okay, we're not making money, but like one of these days, like I'm hoping that we can reach out and
tip a hat to your Witcher.
Yeah, exactly, right. Like thank this guy properly, because there's so many creative and talented people out there making music and soundscapes and just stuff that, like, I don't know, it enhances our show. Like we benefited from it in so many ways. It's just it's very fun to, like, when you can find the right song and you can sync up, like, like the bass drop, or like a drum beat kicks in with like a big dramatic moment. It's just, it feels so good. But
yeah, having the right sting at the moment, and then
totally. Yeah. If you listen to the show long enough, you're like, he's got about like 20 songs that he just keeps going back to. He's like, something magical's happening. It's that one. And but it works. Bad guys coming. It's a spooky song.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there are a lot of like popular D&D podcasts out there that use the same ambience over and over again. And I'm not going to name any names, but it's very frustrating to hear like kids laughing in the same rhythm over and over again, like, and as they're running and being like, okay, stop.
Yeah, we've never had that problem because the kids in our show are all miserable, all very sad, a lot of orphans, and
a lot of orphans. Yeah.
no laughter to be heard. So.
All right. Speaking about your writing, I've noticed that you're part of a short film production company called Super Good Productions as a writer and producer. It's always great to see people in the film industry make RPG content. Were you always interested in role-playing games? And if so, how has that affected your storytelling?
Yeah, definitely, for a very long time. The TTRPG stuff definitely predates the film stuff. I think it's all kind of a big tangled, bowl of spaghetti. It's hard to know exactly where things started and how they affected each other, as one thinks about when eating spaghetti, of course.
Sure.
But I first started playing D&D when I was maybe 13 or 14, and a friend of mine from school, his dad, I think he played in his own D&D game and offered to run something for my friend and me, and we got another guy involved, and then my dad actually took part as well. So it was like the four of us and then my friend's dad running it. And we did the Sunless Citadel, like a classic older module, which was super fun, played in 3.5. And I think in like a way that a lot of people have experienced, it just was like, oh, this is something special. This is like this. Nothing else feels quite like playing this game. And kind of from that moment on, I was hooked for sure. And kind of, muddled my way through some terrible homebrew in my teens as I started to DM more, and then ran some written, like pre-written campaigns for friends, and then started eventually dabbling into making homebrew that I think is not terrible and actually pretty good sometimes. And then yeah, I think the impact of that on the filmmaking is interesting, because the thing I like most about D&D and film, because I one of our players on the show, Jordan, he's the other half of Super Good Productions. He it's a delight, just dreaming up things with someone else and making stories with someone else. And I love the collaborative storytelling so much, because I don't know, it's just I just know that every single time we get something better than if I were doing it alone, because someone else brings a new idea or a new perspective or makes a creative choice in the game or just like at a writing table, and you just get something so much richer as a result, and that is infinitely enjoyable for me.
Yeah, man, it's collaborative storytelling and film being part of a film industry, film projects, whatever you want to say, there is such a combination of people working together in order to tell a singular story. And it's always nice to see, like I say, it's always nice to see people who work in the film industry and also like to do RPG content. I've interviewed people in the past, like Kylie Rose, who had first studied filmography and then started doing D&D, and is just was able to grow and create like amazing stories that they couldn't tell by themselves. And I first started making films myself. Yeah, I was. That's how it first started. So my love for film kind of spread to. As a kid, I was very much of a loner, and movies and animations were very much the escapism for me because there was not many people around, and so a lot of my want to tell stories comes from the fact of I've enjoyed so much content. I want to give that back to people in a way. I want to make people feel the same way I felt when I was a kid. Whereas, if the greatest compliment I think I could ever get is that I listen to you when I'm feeling down, or when I have a shitty day. It's so nice to just watch something you made or listen to something you made, and then feeling better because of it. Because then that's just makes yeah. I'm feeling a bit teary.
100%. Yeah, I get it. It is it's weird. It's weird to me because it is like the show's pretty new. Like we've only been going a year and a half, which is like pretty. Yes, I'd still say pretty new as far as like a D&D show goes, or as a story goes. Especially with the rate that we put stuff out. Like we're every 2 weeks, and we've had some pretty long pauses just as life stuff gets in the way.
But you guys are consistent about it at the very least. Not many people can say about that. And plus, you guys have 45 episodes more.
Not quite. We just hit 30.
Oh, so, for 30. But, okay, well, bad interviewer. My apologies.
I'm like, all right, this is the best interviewer in the world. Nardwar interview or something. But no, but it is there's been a few interactions like that where someone has said they were having a bad day and they throw in an episode, or even stuff that I'm some the early film stuff. There's one we made early on that I'm just I'm someone who I guess I don't rewatch stuff for the most part. There's very few things that I go back to over and over. And editing your own films, it's you watch it 20, 30, 40 times and you're just so
I'm done
by the end. Right, you know the flaws and you know the moments that you can't fix no matter what you do. But then someone's oh, I really like that story, and you're like, that story, really? And even though I hate it now, it's someone still derives value from it in some way, and I'm like, it's a very unique and special feeling, and it's so rewarding. in that sense.
Yeah. Speaking of rewarding, congratulations on your short film Francine for winning all the, like, I was about to say, like, you guys won something at the alternative, like, best film at the film festival, at the alternative film festival. But then I just looked at your Instagram and saw you guys kept winning more and more stuff. I was like, oh shit, I gotta keep saying how many more.
Yeah, we've been behind on our socials, so we're updating, and we're tagging all the festivals that we've done well at, and yeah, we've been very fortunate at a few of those festivals. Some of them have been very, very kind to us and very generous, and we're trying. We're still pretty new in the film stuff, and only been going at it for a few years, but every single time we're trying to either tell a bigger story or ideally a better story at the same time, or take on like a new type of challenge that we hadn't done in the previous one. And it's been fun. We're gonna keep we got more stuff on the horizon that we're working on, and it's I don't know, if you're somebody who is interested in film, just do something. Like for my birthday, I rented a camera, got a group of friends together. We borrowed a kitchen that my friend's mom owns, and we just shot like a 4-minute sketch, like a parody of The Bear. And you can do a lot on a small budget, and just get friends to do it, get people involved that like are interested but haven't taken those steps themselves. And it's just so fun to just write something and shoot something and make something that didn't exist before. And yeah. Do that now. Stop listening. Don't stop listening. Finish the episode.
No.
Then go make something.
Listen to Bart Soup. Listen to my shit, and then do something.
After that, yeah. Listen to 30 episodes of Bart Soup, the entirety backlog of GM Bus Stop, and then maybe you're ready to make something.
Yeah. Listen, when you're making film, all the prep you're going to do is going to be quiet. You're going to set up lights. You're going to do the camera. While you're doing that, put on some earphones and listen to our shit. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I also say, like, it truly is, go out there and do something is the best advice you can probably get. But one of my best advice I've ever gotten is that for everything you do, learn from the mistakes of what you've done. And then, like, people don't like to focus on like learning from what had happened. Most people, when something bad happens, they want to just like forget about it and just move on. But that's, history repeats itself by that point. I've said this kind of horror story before about my, I went to film school, and I said it before, I'm going to say it again. It's going to be hard to, but like final film project of the year, I had finally been given the permission to direct something that I was somewhat passionate about. And we were, on the day we had like great shots, great stuff. The actors were giving their all, even though they were British and they were trying to do a terrible like Jersey accent. They're doing their best. It was like a mob. It was a weird mob film. There was like, think of Pain and Gain, but mixed in like a Goodfellas environment, which it was meant to be funny. It was supposed to work, and oh man, it was gonna be great. Unfortunately, like no sound. No sound. The guy who was on charge of sound, unfortunately, we had to erase all the sound footage every time we recorded, because we have to give the sound SD cards to the next people who's going to record. And unfortunately, the guy thought he put the sound files into the thing, but it was it was just zip files to the SoundCloud on the SD card instead of the actual sound files. And yeah,
that's a nightmare.
No, it was unsalvageable. Even trying to do ADR or like trying to roll it over, it never sounded right. And eventually, that's where you learn, like, make sure, as a director, you can't be everywhere all at once, unfortunately, and you have to trust people to do their jobs. And if they can't do their jobs, then you have to make sure the people who do know what they're doing are doing what they're doing. But in any case, it's also just a thing to learn about. Like, these things could truly happen to you. And it's probably, my story is probably not the worst story you'll ever hear. There's probably worser stories out there. I probably know others that I can't even tell you on the interview just because it's so bad. But yeah, just learn from your mistakes. That's all that's all my wisdom can.
We forgot to put a vest on one of our actors. We did Francine was a 4-day shoot, and the last day it was like this big dramatic search of this warehouse, and ends with like a gunfight, and we had a scene where the character puts on a bulletproof vest, right? Like she straps into it, and then we shot all of day 4 was in the warehouse and them interacting. And about 3 a.m, I look over at a stack of things, see the bulletproof vest lying on the ground, and I'm like, that's going to be a big continuity problem. We end up having to shoot another day to fix that, like add a 5th day to our shoot. And it's one of those things where like it sucks, but it's never going to happen again on a film that I work on, right? Like we're going to be taking those photos and referencing them at the start of the day and all that stuff, right? But yeah, sometimes you gotta learn those painful lessons, and it's a huge pain, or it's something that you'll notice every time you watch the film, even if other people might not. But yeah, it's there's so much to learn. And speaking to like what you were saying before, it's like one of the cool things about being on like the production side is you don't need to be the best at everything. You can just find people that are really good at sound, or really good at doing the lighting, or holding a camera, right? You can just like find people who have specific talents and interests, and you can just collaborate and make something so much better than you could do if you were doing it all on your own, which is again just so fun and so cool to watch people who are experts or just really knowledgeable in a specific field get to do something to the best of their ability and work together with all these other folks to make something really fun and cool.
Absolutely. Yeah. Let's move on. I love how Bard Soup is structured as a frame narrative in which it's a story of a bard telling the main story in order to not be turned into soup. Did you brainstorm the idea of how the narrative should be structured with the group, or was this idea the inspiration for the podcast?
The initial seed came over the course of not quite a road trip, but a very long drive with my sister Shannon, who's obviously also on the show, plays Fonalyn Vadark, a belligerent noblewoman. And we were talking about like D&D shows and like doing a show, and something we'd wanted to do for a while. And I don't remember the exact aha moment. I just remember it came from that conversation where it was like, okay, what if it is a story within a story, and what if it's called, like Bard Soup? We might have even come up with the name first, and then like framed the the narrative conceit around that. Just as we were throwing ideas out there and brainstorming on what because it's a little aromantic. It's not like an artist's answer, but it was more of like a producer brain thinking, what can out, right? Like there's so many amazing D&D shows out there, so many amazing just TTRPG shows in general. What can we do that feels fresh, that can help us stand out in our own way? And that was what we settled on, because I mean, there's probably some lovely people out there being like, but we've been doing leprechaun stories for 15 years. And I'm like, of course, a leprechaun tells a story. My bad. Didn't know about you. But it did feel like something that I hadn't seen, at least in sort of my deep dive into D&D podcasts that were out there and doing well. And yeah, so I wish it was more of like I've always loved Arabian Nights. I wanted to make my own Arabian Nights ever since I was 14, but it was equal parts, hey, that's a fun name, and also that's maybe a unique idea, which is sometimes hard to come by.
Yeah, it's very difficult to try to distinguish yourself from other podcasts out there. And, not many of them consider trying to frame the narrative in different ways to make yourself stand out. A lot of people try to like put the fantasy setting into something like so obscure, or either something like very recognizable. But you know,
I mean, even that I would say we definitely lean into that to some extent, or at least that was. I mean, what's our story, right? Like the story within the story is a missing princess, which is maybe the most standard fantasy story you can ever conceive of, right? But obviously you've listened to at least a bit, and hopefully our listeners would agree that we make it fresh, make it I want to and that was by design. Like I wanted to start with something like very familiar and very grounded, a missing princess, a quest, blah blah blah, and then take it into some very unique and fresh, and use that familiarity to kind of offset expectations in a fun way, and without being an annoying tease. I'd say within like maybe like the next 8 episodes or so, there's something that I've been building towards that's really going to be the big, it's going to be the big upheaval that I've had conceived of since the very beginning, but have so far been like playing within the this is what it is. It's a missing princess story, and things are about to get crazy and weird, and that excites me and keeps me going.
Yeah, it's always like with a lot of stories, I think it's always good to like start with a simple concept, and then from there we can escalate further. Like when you think about like the craziest shows like One Piece or that's a huge example, because it starts out with just like he's just a guy trying to be king of the pirate, and then that escalates into like the most like dense narrative structures where it's like there's the world government, there's this and that. I'm not gonna go too much into it's crazy.
I Prima, the last member of the DK crew, our artist who does all the amazing artwork for the show and plays Clay Campbell. She got me watching One Piece just like a couple, not even 2 years ago, like a little over a year ago, and I'm 350 episodes in, and I'm like, that's crazy. I've not watched 350 episodes of anything, and I'm less than a third done, but I'm so hooked, and it has been so influential on me as a storyteller, maybe more than like anything else in recent memory, because it's just this sounds like this is going to sound like the dumbest observation, but it taught me that fun can just be like a genre. It is a fun show, and it does whatever it wants, and it is fun, and it is interesting, and it's exciting.
Yeah, it works. It works.
It shouldn't, but it does.
It does. That's the fucking crux of everything. But it's so fat. Like Oda, like the writer, is so good when like weaving this like narrative. He is renowned for using every trope imaginable, but using it in creative and different ways. Like you're on episode 300. Fucking buckle up, my guy. You're still not there.
Yeah, we're in Thriller Bark right now. And I'm like, how can it get better than this?
Gosh. I almost look forward to people like going through that journey, but yeah, I'm also excited to just like, I also think the fan base of One Piece is just very great. It's like the people who are up to date on everything are people who truly love this show, because it's the level of commitment that you have to achieve, like more than 1,000 chapters of manga, more than thousands of episodes to be able to watch. Those are people who are committed and understand that this is fun. This is just meant to be a good time. Yeah.
Really remarkable.
Yeah. We're talking too much. This is about you. Why are we talking about fucking One Piece? Damn it. Damn it, Zach.
Welcome to One Piece bus stop. We're going to talk about all One Piece for the next 1,000 hours.
Yeah. Kaizoku yo nawa. I couldn't pronounce that correctly. I'm going to get fucking burned in the comments.
What can you do?
Yeah. What were we talking about? We were talking about your show. We're talking about the narrative of your show that you're supposed to like convince people to watch. It's like there are like I would also I'm gonna go back to One Piece, but like your show also has that like comedic feel of One Piece sometimes. It's like sometimes like physical comedy like really brought out when like when oh my gosh, Jordan's character Treefellow is just hit by the car in the first introduction of the character. I felt like that was such like an anime opening of like you get hit by a car, hey, you scuffed up the wheels of my thing, man, what are you doing?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah,
this character's gonna follow them. It's Ash and Misty, you know. She wants her bike fixed for
yeah.
the next 50 episodes. Yeah, I was literally last night. I've been meaning to do this. I had no audio production experience before doing the show, and the first couple of episodes I just wasn't quite happy with the mix, and it was just like it was quieter than I'd planned on. It sounded great when I was editing it the first time, but then I put it out and I'm like, oh, it's quiet. And I've been meaning to fix it for a very long time. And literally last night I was working on that finally and redoing the first hour of the first episode. And I got to the moment where Glimke gets run over by the carriage, and it was just, I don't know. It's it's gonna sound disingenuous. I am somebody who genuinely hates to toot his own horn. If I am offered any level of praise, I will shrivel like a something shrivelly in the sun. But one of those things, one of those shrivelly things.
Mm-hmm.
But I listened to that moment and I was like, oh, it's just good.
Yeah.
It just feels good.
It's just good.
A fun. You don't get a lot of moments where your main character gets run over by a car in the first episode of their show. So yeah, I'm pleased with that one.
Cue the Shaq meme of like him eating the chicken wing. Ooh. That's the intro.
Yes.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to skip into another question because we kind of like talked about it for a bit, but like in episode 3 of Bard Soup, there was a real turning point in the series, changing the tone from like an upbeat adventure to finding a double homicide. Was this the moment in the campaign where you were like, finally, we're getting to the meat of the story? Or did you feel hesitant to go to this point?
Yeah, I was a little nervous for that moment for sure, because everything thus far had been very... I like to think of Bard Soup as like a very saturated world. Like if this was a real place, the world of Zav, where the story takes place, it would be, everything is just like a little brighter than it needs to be. And it's like, it's very Looney Tunes in nature, very cartoonish in many senses. But then, yeah, it was like, I knew that there was a darker story that I wanted to tell within it, something a little grittier. And I was a little nervous about that landing. But I mean, I was kind of thinking at the same time about the very first Dimension 20 campaign, and people talk about getting episode 2'd, and there's this big turning point where things take a sudden very dark turn there as well. And I was like, okay, it worked there. They were confident in the story. I want the show to have some grit, and I think this is necessary for it to have the stakes that I want, because while it is oftentimes a world full of silly, I don't know, self-centered, foppish individuals, there's also evil afoot, and there's dark forces at play, and they don't always play nice. And yeah, I think the things that I draw inspiration, or I have found the most influential on me as a creative, this is going back to like childhood. I used to love, I still do, the Bone comics. I don't know if you ever read those, but in many ways they're silly. They're about a silly family of little bone guys, and then things get really scary sometimes, and it's really cool when that happens. And I don't know, things like Over the Garden Wall, which is another that's one of the only things that I rewatch. I watch it every year, and it's so silly and charming and delightful. and then you meet just these horrific monsters, and it's genuinely frightening. And there's just something about that mix of silly and sweet and earnest with just the scariest forces in the universe that hits my, I don't know, creative sensibilities in a specific way. And those are the things that I'm always find myself drawn to, and I think kind of wanted to create in my own way as much as possible.
Yeah, I feel like that's very important for storytelling. I could go back to like I'm gonna reference like a bunch of stuff right now, so hitting it real quick. But like, I feel like shows are so like there's such a beautiful aspect in shows and movies and TV show, like whatever you say, is that whether or not they can try to replicate the aspects of life, you know, where we're really happy, we're sad, we're crying, we're scared. I feel like if you could replicate that in your stories, that feels so much like more immersive for me, or makes me feel more about it, because I can compare it to this in the sense of like I could have a really upbeat day and suddenly something drastic could happen that's just so realistic, that's so like definitive of real life aspects that, you know, when I see media like this, like I can't tell you how many Korean shows that do, like a lot of K-dramas, they love to do this. They love to like frame things in like happy settings, and then something drastically like sad or happy, or like something will change the tone of it. You know, an example of this in the movie aspect is Parasite, where there's like so many moments where you're like I'm there. This is kind of happy. This is kind of like laughing at these people, and then there's like seriousness, and then there's like moments where you're afraid of like this weird ass guy from the basement with a giant rock.
Totally.
But yeah, that's the beautiful.
I think that mix of basically just exactly what you were describing there is something that I've tried to imbue into, and I know I haven't nailed it. Sometimes you meet a guy and his name is like, you know,
Odd fart, and then
yeah, literally, thank you, yeah, odd fart, and you cannot imagine the smells he produces. And maybe I don't always hit it with those, but my secret goal for every single NPC that I bring into the story is giving them the capacity to make you cry. Like I want them, even these like silly, ridiculous characters, I want them to have enough complexity that if the players talk to them for long enough, they will get to know them. They will see, you know, what has made them the way they are, and, you know, just mix in that silly with that sad and that sweet and all those elements there. And yeah, it's again, I know definitely didn't nail it with everyone. There's surface level guys, but it is, yeah, that's kind of something that I try and bring into the character work as much as possible. And yeah, it's I don't know,
it's good. I think you've done a lot of great jobs with like trying to create different tones in the structure, and I think there are times where I'm laughing, there are times where it feels serious. I feel like my emotions have kind of gone across the spectrum in a way, so I feel like you've done a good enough job. Don't become a raisin.
I'm melting.
Yeah, I will say something that's really fascinated me in terms of like I've gone like episode 5 right now, but I haven't gotten to the point where the characters have met the evil Grand Vizier. And in my mind, like there's like two ways we could approach this. There's like he's considered the evil Grand Vizier, but it's done to scorn him, and he's like this like a good person, but like his reputation's been tarnished to be able to like do this, or he's literally this bad evil person who's justifiably referred to an evil Grand Vizier, and I don't know which is which, but I'm happy to like wait for the jury to find out. It's like it feels like there's such a setup to this as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna say we recorded episode 26 today. I found a third path, and it is what if we just push them in different directions and they never get close enough to find out.
What if they're neutrally ambiguous? The middle ground of like they're fine. They're fine.
Yeah, there was definitely moments where they're like, yeah, we got to investigate this evil vizier, and I'm like, yeah, probably, and then story just went a different direction, you know. Different choices were made, and that's all right.
I look forward to hearing about what's happening, but going back to the discussion of Dimension 20, I was gonna say like obviously the setting does feel like a court of fade flowers, in that like nobility status and everything, but the vibe is just so different. Even like there in the Court of Fade Flowers, the vibe feels more like a rom-com romantic aspects within this nobility, and that's what it's meant to be. And yours doesn't really it goes in its own path of, you're in this like beautiful setting with this nobility across everywhere who just don't give a shit about anyone but themselves. And it's so fascinating for like the characters to like come across every single person and getting like different reactions, and like seeing how even like the common folk are reacting to like, there's a class disparity, but what are you gonna do?
It's my lot in life. It's a living.
It's a living.
Yeah, that's something I've not, I don't know, struggled with, but it's like, I don't know. I've intentionally made the nobles just like awful, like the worst people. If you could spend time with them, you'd be like, why am I in this conversation? But then also I'm like, sometimes I need the players to like them enough to like listen to what they have to say so that they can get information and advance the story. But it's, it's definitely, it's created some moments for sure where they're like, there's a run in like the later teens of episodes where there's a noble family and maybe they're making some sacrifices of their servants, and like I was shocked because the party kind of like I was like, you should go to the police. Like they're murdering people in their basement to get power, and they're like, all right, well, we need to deal with these people and we don't like it, but like we need the information they have. And I'm like, okay. Like, sure.
It's fascinating to write a story in a classist based environment, because like the rules don't apply to people who are rich, and that's the sad aspect of things. But it's something that you could literally write a whole essay about.
I mean, like our first episode, Clay, who lives in one of the poorer districts of the city. For those of you who haven't listened to the show, there's a missing princess, and in their episode 0, before the show began, Clay helped smuggle a human-sized package out of the city and thinks they helped make the princess disappear. And Clay goes to the police, the town guard, in the very first episode, and is like, hey, I think you should look into this thing. And like it's kind of just like laughed out of the room because of their perceived status. And, right, just like completely dismissed. And it's like, if those people had listened, then maybe society at large would be closer to solving this particular quandary. But,
it's just fascinating. But it's honestly, I do think that's indicative to like what a classist system would be, is like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't trust you just because you're not in a position of wealth, and therefore you cannot be trusted in general.
Totally.
But going to one of the lighter questions that we ask every time we're on this channel. As you can see by my side, I have a magical vending machine which can summon any drink or snack at my disposal. What is your go-to snack or beverage whenever playing D&D or RPG?
Ooh.
It's not almonds, that's for sure.
It's not almonds. They will kill me one day. The allergist said, don't eat any more almonds. And I said, okay, but like, it's okay, right? And she said, no. And I said, okay. And I ate 2 large handfuls of almonds before jumping on the show. The simple truth is, I'm not a beverage guy. I gave up soft drinks when I was like 15. I drink a lot. I don't even drink a lot of water. I just don't drink liquid. But I would say, you know what? Hey, I would say a Reese's, the big cup, a Reese's big cup, maybe the ones with the Reese's pieces inside. That big guilty pleasure there. I've tried to kick the habit of late and gotten pretty close. But those, and if I'm being greedy, I'm going back to the vending machine. A nice green tea. That's like my one beverage outside of water, which is a miserable thing to admit.
Your doctor must just love you, man.
Oh, don't get me started on my doctor.
I have to change him every time. They keep telling me to change my lifestyle.
There's nothing left to give up. I've got nothing left to give up.
That's the problem. You have to give more. Yeah, man, Reese's. Whenever someone mentions peanut butter, I'm like, that doesn't feel good for your voice, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, definitely gums up the system.
Yeah,
that'd be an off mic snack for sure.
Sincerely, I'm a big proponent of hibiscus and jasmine tea myself.
Ooh, lovely.
Yeah. Also, in these segments, I tend to give helpful health facts, healthy snack facts.
All right.
Yeah.
Let's go.
One of the things I've been very much enjoying this summer is eating a nut mix with honey slathered on it, and then just waiting for it to cool and just eat it off like that. It's a very refreshing thing to eat right now during this very hot time, and it doesn't have this like salt. It has a saltiness, and but it doesn't make me feel thirsty at the very least. So.
Sure.
It's very nice during this time of year, and I feel like people could enjoy a nice little sweet, salty thing.
I love that. That actually sounds amazing.
It is quite good. I've also made pepper jam, which is very nice.
Okay.
So
I'm so fascinated by you.
Thank you.
Yes. I want to. Let's do another episode, but I don't talk, and I just listen to you tell me facts about your life because I'm very curious.
Put on jazz music. Well, let me tell you about the one time I. Yeah. Pepper jam. I'm gonna go quick into that real quick, just because I'm just really interested in that now. I usually cut up some jalapenos, remove the seeds, get some sweet peppers, cut them all together, make them very fine. Put it into how do you say a pot? Sorry, I'm trying to translate. Put everything into a pot, put at least about 250 grams of sugar, a little bit of apple cider vinegar, let it cook for a bit, and then you'll have this very like gooey consistency to it. You put it into a jar, put it in the fridge, and you have this thing that you can put on bread, you can put it on sandwiches. There's an Italian dish called a piadina, where you have like it's almost like a quesadilla, but you would usually have like smoked ham and like edamame cheese layered on and like have it nice and melty. I typically like to put a little bit of that pepper jam in there to make it like nice and sweet. But yeah, that's not so healthy, but it's still a good food fact.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, real quick, I wanted to spotlight the people on your team that we've already talked about because amazing GM.
Could not do it without them.
Yeah, a lot of the amazing artwork featured on your socials is done by Prima Zhao, who plays Clay Campbell, and have we mentioned is a decent human smuggler, unwillingly a human smuggler, I guess.
Hard. Sometimes someone says, "Hey, carry this human-shaped carpet out of the city tonight, please." Yes, thank you, and they do.
Yeah,
because good employees don't ask questions. That's my advice. If you're an employee, don't ask questions. Just do your job.
I'm a transporter. I need to know the exact dimensions of the. I fucking love Jason Statham. Every movie he's done so far has just been a job title, and it's fucking hilarious.
That's so funny.
It's fucking hilarious. He's done more films where it's just his job in front, like the beekeeper, the transporter, the like working man. I think is one.
It's amazing.
It's so funny that he's making this. He made an active decision to go these films, and just me, just. No. All right. You produced the series as we mentioned before, which is like very well done. The music, the tones, everything is like very professionally done. Much better than how I started out, which I felt I have made edits in the past to make sure they sounded better, but the original YouTube stuff is still out there and still clogs my heart. But
it's tough.
Yeah. And your social media is managed by Shannon Meikle, who plays Fonulin Vadark.
Fonulin Vadark.
Fonulin Vadark. Sorry, dyslexia. Sorry.
Yeah, I have been getting a lot of flack because typically I just say the names of things. You know, I'm like, oh yeah, this guy's gonna start posting, and they're like, great, and this guy's name is Ptolemy Henkel, and then occasionally they ask for spelling, and I've been getting angry responses from my players. They're like, that's not how words go together, and I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense to me. Yeah, apologies.
Go ahead.
I'm just gonna Transport style swerve. We did a Christmas one shot based off a Grant Howitt one page RPG called Jason Statham's Big Adventure. So for any fellow Jason Statham fans, I feel like I'd be remiss not to bring it up. It felt like one of those things where I'm like, is he queuing me up? And I don't think you were, but
no,
there you go.
We've established I'm a good interviewer. I was queuing you up for
yeah, I'm gonna miss. I missed my opportunity. All went right past me. No, yeah, Shannon does all the social stuff, and she the thing is, like, we really are like, this is something we really have just picked up the last couple of years, like the editing on my end. And Prima's always been like an awesome artist, but kind of has just produced so much amazing art for the show, and has been doing all these like character portraits that we've been putting up on the website for like the most obscure NPCs, you know, like a servant that you met in one episode, and you can find their picture there, you know. And yeah, Shannon's been learning all the social stuff and the editing of like TikToks and Reels, and how to make something that people actually want to like click on and listen to and watch. And yeah, these are things that, like, again, going back to just like collaborative storytelling and working on projects together, like these are things I simply either could not do or have no interest in doing. And I'm so incredibly blessed that I get to work with these people who do these different parts of the show that are so important for getting it out there and making sure people remember to listen and watch. And you know, lets me focus on coming up with the next NPC who wears, like, I don't know, a poop emoji as a hat or whatever my job is. So,
and he's a very serious character.
So much pathos. Yeah, the childhood he went through. Oh.
Buggy the Clown, where he had a nose his entire life. Okay, always back to onesies. But yeah, it is so beautiful to be with people who love making stories, and it's so great to talk to people who love stories itself. So I hope people like this. And I know I've really enjoyed listening to Bard Soup, and I will continue to hopefully reach where we are currently. But
thank you. That's very kind.
All right. We are nearing the end as I see my bus in the horizon. Thank you again for taking the time to chat with me. You could take this time to shout out any upcoming projects or series you guys are working on.
I mean, the big one, it's Bard Soup. It's on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all those things. You know, you can follow us on Bard_Soup at Instagram or TikTok. Bardsoup.com if you want to check out those character portraits. It's kind of like a Sisyphusian boulder task. Every episode I introduce 5 new characters. Prima draws 6 new portraits. We upload them very slowly to the website. That's the big one. I mean, there's some film stuff that Jordan and I are doing, as you talked about earlier. Our most recent film, Francine, which is this crime procedural drama type short film, is about a missing robot child. There we go. I know what my movie's about.
You wrote it.
I think so. I don't know. I just woke up. Is going through like kind of like the festival circuit right now, but we're hoping to put that up on our YouTube channel at some point in the near future to share it with the broader world. And yeah, those are the two big ones. You should click on any episode of Bard Soup and you can find Shannon and Prima and Jordan's Instagrams, and we all have some cool, unique stuff going on. And yeah, I'm sure everybody says this, but they are truly some of the most creative and wonderful people to get to know and follow. And yeah, you won't be disappointed if you do.
Beautiful. Now, I hope everyone liked today's episode. If not, don't care. I'm going to keep doing this. Thank you again. Hope to see you guys. What am I saying? I'm sorry. Okay. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.